Good morning. Happy Saturday. If there was anybody waiting, I know I keep making this joke because I have like 57 followers. And I love my 57 followers, but there's very possibly not somebody waiting. So if there was somebody waiting, I am really sorry that I was late. I'm just kind of rusty, and definitely trying to get used to the software that I'm using. So I apologize. I am a geriatric millennial. But happy Saturday. Um, Welcome back. It's a little bit more of an upbeat week, so definitely kind of a change in energy here. But it has been a week, so I'm gonna go ahead and jump into it. And yeah, I hope everybody's had an awesome week. Well, first thing that I think we'll go ahead and cover today is, last week we unfortunately had the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and going into, almost immediately, the rhetoric was extremely anti-left, and, the identified shooter, or the alleged assassin, is somebody who had been indoctrinated and radicalized, according to all the evidence that our highly credible FBI has presented. Shout out to Kash Patel. The right has responded to Charlie Kirk's death by pushing for censorship and job firings. Now, not even 5 years ago, we were calling this cancel culture. 5 years ago, we were canceling conservatives. We were deplatforming, demonetizing. We were doing everything. You have some conservatives that are still on Rumble because, and I'm not talking about Nick Fuentes. I know why he's on Rumble. I don't watch him. But I know why he's on Rumble, but there's definitely people that are still on Rumble because of the fact that they were deplatformed. So it is really kind of interesting to me to see the same party now turn around and ask for censorship because somebody that was beloved in our party was assassinated. And apparently people didn't respond the way that they wanted. Well, we also didn't respond to certain things that were important to the left the way that they wanted. Freedom of speech is freedom of speech. Now, there is such a thing as freedom of speech does not make you free from consequences. And I think that's really important. You can definitely, as an individual, be able to express your views. But if you work for somebody, you have to be very careful with what you say. I know that, like, I have a social media policy with my company. There are things that you're not allowed to talk about, and you would be disparaging or hurting your company's brand. They sign your paychecks. Yeah, you kind of got to abide by it. Let me take a sip of coffee before we jump into this. So we definitely had some high profile firings today. There's a tweet I forgot to pull up that I really want to pull up just because if it wasn't so cruel, it would be utterly hilarious. Let's be honest. It would be so freaking funny because of just the level of ridiculousness of this individual. It is Saturday morning, y'all. I'm going to try to stream on Saturdays because it fits into the mommy schedule. But also, who doesn't want to wake up first thing on a Saturday and talk politics and American culture? All right. So, our first lucky winner in the Don't Be a Jerk or You'll Lose Your Job sweepstakes was Matthew Dowd. Now, is it funny that Matthew Dowd got fired? This isn't a weird one for me because with Matthew Dowd specifically, he made the comment about people shooting guns off in the air to celebrate somebody. And personally, I don't know a time in history that I went to a political rally or a campaign fundraiser and conservatives were like shooting guns off in the air. That just sounds like Hialeah on New Year's Eve. It doesn't sound like a Charlie Kirk Turning Point USA event. But I also think that at the time that Matthew Dowd spoke, we were still throwing a million theories in the air. I mean, let's be honest, like the FBI, they gave us information overload. Governor Cox gave us information overload. It almost felt like it was deliberate. So with Matthew Dowd specifically, like I'm not going to cry for any liberal news station that is now getting consequences. They have been out of control for years. It is unfortunate that people are going to be losing their job. It seems that the Trump administration has really gotten a lot of control over these networks. But I would ask you, how different is that than the last 30 years of left-wing control in our media and our Hollywood? So we're entering a stage of extreme vengeance and reciprocity. I don't think that's good for America, but man, it's so hard not to kind of feel petty and want to see the same done back. Anybody who's been canceled knows how nasty and vitriolic the far left have been. You're getting your own medicine back. I hate it for America, but I love it for the left. I'm so sorry. I want to be a better person. I want to be a better person. But like, you earned this. You earned this. I still don't want it to happen. This is a very conflicting feeling. This is a very very adult moment for me to admit that I know my reaction is wrong because it's not. I mean, I understand for your employer, right? So another person here who Apple's always trying to update. Apple is always trying to update my software when I'm on here. And now I'm really upset that they are taking this away from me. No, okay. So Washington Post columnist Karen Attiah said she was fired over her social media comments in the aftermath killing Charlie Kirk. All right. Now, Matthew Dowd made a stupid comment. Karen Attiah made an absolutely ludicrous statement, and I'm sorry, but as a journalist, if this is the way that you are positioning yourself when you're supposed to be reporting things and you're supposed to be in some capacity unbiased, we know that that doesn't exist anymore. Why would you post with this? Hold on, let me pull up what she posted, because I'm gonna have to pull up an article, and they all want me to pay, y'all, and I don't think that we should have to pay for these articles. LA Times, be free, even though it's going to be super left-leaning. But we're okay with that because we can read tweets. We don't need anyone to interpret a tweet for us. You know what I miss is when they would just give you your little tweet in there. Where are you at, Karen? It doesn't help that her name is Karen at all. See, and then, you know, what's crazy is this. She quotes, Black women do not have brain processing power to be taken seriously. You have to go steal a white person's slot. I want to pull up that whole recording because I'm almost going to guarantee that that's not the entire statement that Charlie Kirk made. But, you know, we are in the age of Michael Moore students. They learned how to cut and copy and paste to fit their narrative. And that is what we live. That is what we now deal with. So, okay, I really want to pull up where she was in the Washington Post. Did not allow me to. Okay. Well, you know what? Thank you for that. All right. Regardless. So, just a, you know, mild little, again, this is where I say technical difficulties. I feel like this is my life and it'll probably be for the next couple of, you know, whatever it may be. All right. There was also a pediatric surgeon that lost her job. And there we go. Because let me tell you something. This has to be one of the craziest tweets I've read. Okay, there was a pediatric surgeon who posted, picture me getting mad about this person dying, F those kids, F his wife, F the woman who birthed him. She got fired. And, I obviously that's like, that's a common sense move. So that's not like canceling or censoring somebody, but you are at the least, at the smallest amount, hate this man, hate him, his kids. And your job is a pediatric surgeon. And this is the way that you speak about the children wishing abortion on someone who just got assassinated. I mean, come on. You think you're righteous speaking like that? Do you think that you're a good person? Oh, because they're so evil, they're so mean, they're fascist, they're racist. Listen to yourself. Like, listen to yourself. I can't even imagine somebody saying something like that. That's crazy. So, a lot of censorship going on, a lot of people getting fired. Some of these I would say are very, very valid. Now, what is concerning is that our government is calling to report people. Our vice president, there's so much going on right now. And there's so much going on in the world and so many conflicts rising, so many questionable behaviors by a lot of the big world governments, nuclear powers. And the vice president of the United States finds the time to go on and host Turning Point USA. The US government, sitting vice president, sat to host another journalist's broadcast. And while on this broadcast, our very eloquent Vice President, J.D. Vance, makes this statement.
Meet the tiniest HR team in the world.
What do you think Paylocity does?
Paylocity. Pay people money.
What do you think Paylocity sounds like?
Velocity and pay combined.
Paylocity is the future of HCM simplified.
If there is no
JD Vance here, live from my office in the White House.
This is hilarious. All right, y'all. Now I got to figure out audio while we're live because you know what? If we're going to do this, we're going to do this together. Okay. How do I fix my audio? How do I fix my audio? Somebody in the chat. If there's one person in the chat. Anyways, how do I fix my audio? Okay. But there is no audio coming off of this. So all right. Don't ever say I'm not a quick learner. I'm a learner. I learn. Hold on. Let's see if I can hear it. Quite possibly. Still not hearing it. Hold on a second. All right. We got this. Everyone. All right. Vamos a ver. Let's see if this happens.
And filling in for somebody who cannot be filled in for, but I'm going to try to do my best. My dear friend, the great Charlie Kirk. He was a joyful warrior for our country. He loved America. He devoted himself tirelessly to make.
I'm going to have to pause because I cannot get audio here. Okay. So that's working. Y'all, we are just troubleshooting a live stream live. Not embarrassed yet, but definitely frustrated. All right. Don't be a jerk. Please stop being a jerk.
Making our country a better place. He was a critical part of
Yeah,
getting
guys,
Donald
I'm not
Trump
going to be able
elected as
to play any
president,
of
getting
these.
me elected as.
This is unfortunate. All right. No, I'm not speaking, but yeah, all of that's clicked. So then what I want to know is, will anything else work? Hmm. If it is the website that I picked and not my actual setup, no, it is my setup. This is so frustrating. All right, you know what? It is what it is. That's it. This is what it is. Things happen. Okay, anyways. All right. So can't get the audio on this, and that's unfortunate. So I'm going to have to probably just grab it and add it. But again, so in the clip, our vice president pretty much says, that we cannot be united with the people that react in such a violent way, in such a disgusting way. And yes, it's nasty. It's disgusting to cheer somebody dying. It's disgusting to scream profanity at the president, or to tell for little kids to be asking their parents if, Trump and the vice president were dead as well. But let me tell you something. There are not kids out there. A 6-year-old does not wake up and hate Donald Trump. Like, my 7-year-old tells me that she doesn't like Donald Trump. And it makes me laugh because we don't talk about him with her. But my father, who they spend a lot of time with, watches the news a lot. And she hears him speak a lot. And she doesn't like the way that he talks, like the way his voice is. And I cannot follow along with Donald Trump when he speaks. It's just a very weird. My husband calls it storytelling, weaving. No. It is grating on the ears to hear somebody constantly say how great they are. Like, I'm not your dad. You don't have to impress me. Like, just make my life easier by putting our country into a better place. But I'm the greatest at doing that. Like, so very hard to listen to. However, what's now happening is Vice President Vance, to me, is an obvious shoo-in for the next president. Why? Because Trump obviously cannot go another term. All his jokes that he makes, I think they're just jokes, but Vance is obviously set to be the next president. This response from him feels like a preview of his presidency, of a level of intolerance that I have not seen from the Republican Party. Now, mind you, I think Republicans needed to toughen up. I think that we spent, 2 decades of trying to be polite and dealing with, the demonization from the left in our media and Hollywood, and anybody who's religious, anybody who wants to advocate for the nuclear family. These people are just archaic, just archaic cavemen. And I know JD Vance grew up during that time period, right? We're similar to the same age. So your response at this moment is to call for unity, but not unity with them, to go on an independent journalist news show and ask the American public to start reporting people who are celebrating Charlie Kirk's death to their employers. Let me tell you something. You don't have to tell Americans to act like a Karen. They're going to do it. This is what they do. We love to make a lot of noise. But for our vice president to give out that directive, that's an interesting one to me. And we'll see how that plays out. But I have always said that the Democrats were going to bring in our first authoritarian. I'm not liking the right now. I'm not liking the reaction. I'm not liking this extreme hatred. I'm not liking the two wrongs are going to make something right. No, two wrongs never make anything right. And this pettiness, somebody has to stop it. And if you think that the next 3 years are going to be petty and then the Democrats are going to come in, or maybe we get 4 more years of Vance, and after that, the Democrats are not going to unleash another 10, 15, 20 years of a vendetta, and then we're never going to get to a good place, and the people keep suffering. I mean, mom and dad need to figure it out. They really need to figure it out. All right. So another thing that really kind of got me, and I mean to a point of just what is going on, Pam Bondi is our attorney general and doesn't seem to understand what freedom of speech means. She also doesn't seem to understand that there are lists of priorities of what she should probably be focused on. You know, the United States, how many school shootings do we have a year? Almost all of these kids have been identified as some sort of a threat, yet they're allowed to buy firearms. Why don't you investigate where this extremism is coming from? And please, please, guys, don't tell me it's trans people, because school shootings have been happening since I was a kid. And I haven't been hearing this conversation about the trans takeover of America, that 0.001% of the US population are now committing all these violent crimes that were already being committed. Do you want to make somebody a scapegoat? How about we make the fact that we don't prioritize any form of mental health in this country? How about prioritize the fact that you've let Big Pharma take over and infiltrate our children's lives, our bloodstream, our water, that we are being medicated to death, and that these kids are being put on antipsychotic medications? How many school shooters were clean? How many school shooters had absolutely no pharmaceutical meds in their system? Tell me. But no, but it's trans people. You see, like, I want to buy BS, but I'm not dumb enough to do it, because I can remember all of this happening. And see, and Trump and his rhetoric, and the Republicans and their rhetoric, they want to make everybody the enemy. You're going to become the enemy of the people. Again, you just spent 30 years being looked down on. You just spent, now you're going to earn it. You didn't earn it the first time. Now you're going to go out of your way to earn it. So Pam Bondi, what are you doing? What are you doing? You have Megyn Kelly calling you out? When you have Megyn Kelly calling you out, pretty much saying, obviously I can't get my audio to work on here, so I apologize, y'all. I was so ready. It was great. Let me. Guys, I'm going to start paying for news websites because all these ads are driving me crazy. All right. So even Megyn Kelly is cursing out Pam Bondi, because Pam Bondi's out of line. Pam Bondi is over here threatening people that they're going to be looking into all of these cases. Looking into what cases, Pam Bondi? Americans are allowed to have an issue. Americans are allowed to not mourn the loss of somebody. It is okay. I don't think it's okay to cheer it, but I don't think that it's okay for the Attorney General of the United States to say that they're going to be prosecuting hate speech. I mean, technically hate speech doesn't exist, right? I mean, let's be honest, y'all. Hate speech doesn't exist. And this is something that we've been saying for a long time. But so obviously all of the conservative backlash, because, you know, conservatives, they like to remember sometimes what they're supposed to stand for. So we're supposed to stand for freedom of speech. We're not supposed to be okay with people losing their livelihood because they had an opinion that you didn't agree with. So after the backlash, after, independent journalists like Megyn Kelly come out swinging, well, Pam Bondi walks it back. Oh, hate speech won't be prosecuted because, like in the United States, you really can't have hate speech because of this amazing thing called the First Amendment. And, there were actually people that believed that hate speech didn't exist. And could you imagine the amazing discovery to find that the person that this individual thinks that they're doing an honor for didn't even believe in hate speech themselves. So let's read it in the words of Charlie Kirk. Let's read this in the words of the man that my party is now deciding that they're going to attack people over them not mourning the way that we would like. I would love for people to be sad. I have seen people celebrating it. I have seen people reach out to me to try to shame me for being sad about this man dying. You won't shame me. I will tell you that if you're celebrating, you're disgusting. But if you're not sad about it, that's on you. That is really on you. All right. In the words of Charlie Kirk from May 2nd of 2024, hate speech does not exist legally in America. There's ugly speech, there's gross speech, there's evil speech. And all of it is protected by the First Amendment. There you have it. Y'all, before you do things in somebody else's name, you should verify that that person would have wanted you or would have supported that movement that you're starting. So again, we seem to be reacting in an emotional capacity. I'm very disappointed to see conservatives acting the way that they are, but what's scary is people in positions of power like Pam Bondi, like Vice President Vance, like President Donald Trump. It is really scary to see them reacting this way. They were directly impacted by cancel culture, and it's really sad to see them using those same weapons against their opposition. And again, the mom and dad keep fighting, and the kids keep losing. Now, one person that got fired that you will not see me shed one tear over is Jimmy Kimmel. I don't know why this makes me laugh so hard. I don't like Jimmy Kimmel. I prefer Jimmy Kimmel during the Man Show. It was funny. He was actually a comedian. Jimmy Kimmel got on a high horse at some point as if he was a moral authority. Jimmy Kimmel, my dude. Some of us remember you from 2001, 1999. Okay, you were funny at one point, and then you tried to make everybody think that you were different. No, it's okay. You're just a hypocrite. And then you have grandstanded for the last 10 years, anti-conservative everything. Meanwhile, what shining example of morality are you? Absolutely nothing. And you are arguably more misogynistic than Donald Trump, bro. I watched your show when I was in college. All the frat boys loved it. Come on, Jimmy Kimmel. Good riddance, buddy. Good riddance. Although I will say that he really wasn't repeating anything that wasn't already on the news. I don't think that he was the most egregious. I think Matthew Dowd was more egregious than him. But Jimmy Kimmel has stepped over the line multiple times. Jimmy Kimmel has BS'd. He's lied to the public. He repeats already disproven kind of theories. I don't think for a second that this is somebody that I would be mourning. And I love how it's just been like an ad the entire time. So I think more on the Jimmy Kimmel side, like it's hard for me to be sad. Like that, I will tell you. I don't think, I don't know why this makes me laugh so hard. Jimmy Kimmel can go get a job on SNL. You know what I mean? Like there you go. You know, you're an actor anyway. I mean, you're playing a role every single day. There's no way that's your genuine self. I think we all saw your genuine self a long time ago, and we preferred that self. The times now don't, because we all like to pretend like everybody is just a shining example of morality at all times, and none of us have our quirks and our degenerate side. You know, I kind of miss those days, but maybe the degeneracy got way out of hand. And now we all have to be punished. And we get to all walk around like Puritans. So that's why nobody can have fun, guys. Anyways, Jimmy Kimmel, I won't miss you. I'm sure a bunch of people will. But quite honestly, we don't care. This is horrible to say, but through everything in the last week, despite all of the firings, and mind you, there are a lot of reports on social media of people posting that they've been fired, but we also live in a sensationalist culture, and I don't know who's actually genuine or who's lying, because again, we're all playing a character. We're all lying. I am trying to be a genuine person, but I'm sure at some point I'll play a character. I hope not. And I hope if I have followers at that point that I get called out on it. But one thing I will say that, yeah, we canceled a lot of people this week, and a lot of people got fired or got put on an indefinite suspension. Go Jimmy Kimmel. We didn't burn down any cities. We didn't firebomb any cars. We didn't run around wearing gas masks, throwing cinder blocks at the police. Antifa didn't show up to further agitate the crowd, and there were no paid protesters for our cause. Republicans, conservatives, independents, all the people who don't do stupid things when things don't go their way. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Now, maybe we can tone it down on the cancel culture so that we can show the Democrats and the left how they should act when things don't go their way. Maybe we can recover from the embarrassment of January 6th. Please, please. Okay. Don't burn anything down, guys. Okay? Don't burn anything down. Now, we said this already. There's free speech and there's workplace consequences. It's valid. There are subjects I will not be covering on this show because I cannot. And that's okay. I need to preserve my livelihood. If you work for somebody, you should understand that you're not fully in control of your public image. That's it. So it is what it is. Actions have consequences for everybody. All right, now, this is probably going to get some people upset, and that's okay. So there's a lot going on right now with the who did it and who killed this man. And for me, there's a lot of things that happened immediately when Charlie Kirk was shot that had me kind of feeling extremely uncomfortable. It wasn't, obviously he was assassinated. That was devastating and completely unexpected. But the fact that you had an overload of information all at once. You had this man screaming, I did it. Never in the history of any of these shootings have you seen someone start screaming, I did it immediately. You caused a distraction. They arrested him. Then they arrested another guy that felt like a decoy, a redirection. All this time that these people are caught and being interrogated, our FBI is really coming up with a Hollywood level movie script. If you haven't read the text messages from a 22-year-old Tyler, you tell me the last time you wrote a text message like that, or you saw anybody young, especially in the gaming culture. Go ahead and tell me that they write that way. Okay? This assassination benefits one side entirely. And I know that there's people out there, especially on the right, that want to believe that the left hate them so much that they would do this. I'm sure in another world with another agenda, I could see it happening. But this has been a very divisive last 9 months. This administration did not come in with an idea of unity. They may have campaigned to some degree like that, and they may have talked about all these grand things that they were going to get done. But so far, the biggest thing that we've done is generate revenue off of tariffs, which the American people are paying for this. So it's a weird thing to brag about. You haven't ended the war, any of the wars. You seem to be working for Israel over your own country. You've threatened American states to take away their funding if they don't support a foreign country, your senators and your Democrats, the only thing that they can seem to agree on is supporting Israel blindly. We now have a genocide declared in Palestine, and our U.S. government threatens the ICC, the International Criminal Courts, and now Ted Cruz, who seems to... Does this man have dual citizenship? Can somebody check? Because what's going on, Ted Cruz? So the UN declares a genocide in Palestine, and Ted Cruz is denouncing the UN. Denounce the United States for supporting a genocide. There's not an amount of people that were kidnapped that can justify over 30,000 women and children murdered in cold blood. You can't do it. This is a mark against the United States. I'm ashamed at how long it took me to come around. I'm ashamed at how long it took. I'm a lifelong Zionist. I'm not ashamed of that. Israel deserves to have a place. The Israelis deserve to have a home. But this current government, no. So everything here that happened with Kirk, I can understand why people are immediately looking at Israel. Because it looks like a false flag attack. It looks like an attack that makes us think the enemy is different than what it actually is, or who it actually is. And more importantly, it gets us fighting with each other. And when we're fighting with each other, we're not paying attention to everything that's going on. We're not paying attention to all the legislation they tried to pass last week. The additional money that we're sending to a country that is generating more revenue than we are. That their deficit is, an absolute fraction. What, 1/100th of what our deficit is? They're like $50 million or 50 billion, and we're giving them $300 billion a year? For what? Why has Netanyahu been in this country, 4 or 5 times so far this year? That is unprecedented. What other foreign ally of the United States is constantly in the United States lobbying our government? Why are y'all so needy? My God. So the craziest thing about everything that's happened is that Kirk was openly breaking ranks with the far-right Zionists that are in the Republican Party that seem to have bought both sides. So first you had the Turning Point USA conference, which was crazy because when Tucker Carlson got on stage and started his speech about Epstein being a Mossad agent and just going in on Israel and their tactics to control American government officials, I was shocked. Because Charlie Kirk is like every single Republican that I grew up with, that I've always been. We blindly support Israel. But there comes a time where you have to wake up and understand that things that are being done are evil. And you can love a country and not like their government. And that's not anti-Semitic, everybody. I'm sorry. Just kind of a newsflash, it's not anti-Semitic to say that you don't agree with the government of a country. It doesn't mean that you hate everybody of a certain religion. That doesn't make any sense. Those things don't calculate. So why do I say it looks like a false flag? Because everything points to a false flag attack. Kirk was breaking ranks. He was pushing against the war in Gaza openly. He was asking for the Epstein file release. Had he gone full anti-Israeli government, he could have pulled the entire youth sentiment with him. Now, the irony in all of this is that the youth is already turning. And because he had his pulse on the youth, he probably realized it and realized that he wasn't going to be able to align with people that were not following the interests of the people that gave him the power that he has, which are his followers. The donors allowed him to spread his reach. But the people that keep this movement going, that keep this movement energized, are those young people that show up to debate, those young people that after watching him on a quick short, they go and debate in their quad in a college campus. That was the power source for Turning Point USA. And they're already turning against the country because they haven't been fed propaganda their entire lives so that they blindly follow, which is what all of us have dealt with. Some of us are willing to change our minds, to unlearn certain things, and some are not, and that's fine. That honestly just means that we're going to probably be supporting this country for another decade or two. But in 20 years, I have a very hard time believing that the United States is either going to be an ally or even supporting Israel at the level that they are, unless Israel restructures their government and gets Netanyahu and his cronies out, which they've already done. He came back and he took away every single check and balance that they had. He took every oversight committee out because this man was on trial for several counts of fraud, him and his wife. This is not a good man. This is not a good person. His own people are protesting him. And yet he has a hold on our president that is so, it's embarrassing for the United States. It is embarrassing that we have allowed ourselves to be tied in with the country where their government have been doing what they're doing. And that's insane to me. So the day before Charlie Kirk's assassination, he had an interview with Ben Shapiro. Now, obviously, I can't play the clip in my re-recording. I will play the clip. In it, Kirk pretty much asked Ben Shapiro, like, you can be MAGA without supporting Israel. Can you imagine saying that to Ben Shapiro, who probably would sell out the United States for Israel, or as he's currently doing, because he can only shill for them, right? Being America first needs to be America first. It's not Israel first, Israel and America first. No. We are one country. We are not the same country. So in that interview, he makes a face and you can see the look on Ben Shapiro's face. He never looks happy. So I don't know if he like reacted dramatically. He just looked like himself. It was very interesting to see Charlie Kirk say that, to see Charlie Kirk's on his show ask if Epstein was a Mossad agent. The youth are already saying it. If Kirk had turned, it would have only escalated the sentiment, the anti-Israel, anti-Netanyahu sentiment. I hope it's an anti-Netanyahu sentiment. I don't like the idea of it being anti-Israel. I think Israel has a right to exist, but Israel has to exist peacefully with its neighbors. Israel does not have the only claim to that land. Those are Semitic lands. The Palestinians are Semitic people. It is not okay. It's not okay. And it's not okay that Hamas had made as many inroads and taken over an entire population. But Hamas is Hamas, and Hamas does not equal the Palestinian people. I'm sick and tired of the dehumanization of people, especially women and children. Every single man in Palestine can be a terrorist. Okay. That doesn't justify 32,000 women and children murdered. And now that they're on the ground with their Gaza offensive to fully take over Gaza, which I'm glad that at least Netanyahu finally told us what his original aim was. It's just expanding your land. So modern day colonization. And the US is supporting it. So it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. So I'm not saying it was a setup. All right. But I think it's important for people to understand what false flags look like. Now, every so often in history, you have a figure that becomes way too big. Okay. And they will have the influence to be able to move entire groups. Okay. And I'm gonna finalize this with people that have been assassinated that were very similar to this type of figure as Charlie Kirk was. Okay. Now, when you are this figure inside of a machine, especially a political machine, and you start to go off script, that is dangerous because you've built a massive following. You start asking real questions and you challenge kind of those sacred positions, sacred thoughts. That's when you become a threat. Now, Republicans have always been pro-Israel, and we have staunchly defended Israel's right to exist and to defend themselves time and time again. We have excused a lot of questionable stuff. Now, Charlie Kirk was starting to criticize Israel's war in Gaza. Charlie Kirk did not listen to the directive from Donald Trump, where he told, his loyal followers that he seems to think that the people that supported him are so stupid that they would just listen to whatever he said. That the fact that he went on Twitter and bashed his followers, saying that, the Epstein files are a hoax. And let me pull up one of those tweets because I always think it's hilarious that, our president tells people don't waste time on these tweets, yet half of your cabinet was campaigning solely on getting the Epstein files released.
and then they come into power and there's nothing. There's nothing. There's nothing about, one second. I lost my train of thought, y'all. It's been embarrassing. It's been embarrassing seeing this idea that we're dumb. So again, Kirk was calling for the release of the Epstein files, and I think he made the fatal mistake of saying it was Mossad. We know he was an intelligence asset. Bill Ackman is probably also an intelligence asset. You're not looking at people that create anything. So where did you get billions of dollars in your net worth? Where? Why did Harvard give you an apartment after you were convicted of being a rapist? So I don't understand where all of that, why we're confused and we're not as a society asking more. And then how the president of the United States, who at this point, I don't think Trump is in the files because they would have released it. I think he's protecting people. I mean, Trump is obviously a big Zionist. I mean, Jared Kushner is working with the real estate developers that are looking at developing Gaza because it's such a great investment opportunity. Waterfront views, everybody. Anybody who stays at a resort in Gaza should be ashamed of themselves in the future. Ashamed of themselves if that's what they end up doing. It's disgusting. So with the movement like Charlie Kirk, he had the ability to kind of change sentiment but he didn't do that. What he did instead is he listened to his followers. He listened to the youth. He had his finger on that pulse. He starts questioning Israel, starts giving platform to the big conservative voices that have already turned on Israel. Look at Adam Smith. Look at Tucker Carlson. They say Candace Owens wasn't at Turning Point USA this year because she was giving birth to her 4th kid, but they were very close friends. He was doing that. He wasn't listening to them, to his handlers or his donors when they were telling him, stop giving platform to these people. We don't want their voices. They're not speaking the script that we've been giving them. They've broken from the ranks. Can't take them out because one episode gets 3 million views. Now, why does this feel historical? Well, first, you question the narrative, you push back against those who control it, boom, you're gone. We get a lot of noise, a lot of distractions, a lot of information all at once. We're all kind of overloaded with information and we kind of shut down. Well, that's what they want because that gives them the time to do whatever they need to do, which in this case, it was writing text messages as if you were writing a dialogue on a screenplay, using verbiage that no 22-year-old uses, much less a gamer. And again, the American public is not that stupid. What I do see a lot of people doing is they want to accept what the government tells them so they can move on. And to those out there, I understand. This land of not trusting anybody is honestly frustrating. It is frustrating. It's frustrating to constantly be looking at your government and saying, why is it that you people cannot just do the bare minimum for the people that vote for you? Why? Why is it that everything, you put so much energy into gaslighting and lying to the people? You could actually put that energy into improving the world that we live in, but you won't do that because then it'll take away status from you. Historical echoes that really make me feel like this is just another shut somebody up moment because you changed the dialogue. And you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to do that. Malcolm X turned on the Nation of Islam and criticized the United States war machine. He was assassinated. RFK, and this is an interesting one, RFK opposed Vietnam, supported Palestine, wanted to audit the CIA and Israel's nuke program. Israel comes up a lot when you look at assassinations. Israel comes up a lot when you look at false flag operations. Honestly, y'all, it's better to be dumb. It's better to just walk around willfully ignorant. It's a lot less disappointing, I'll be honest with you. MLK publicly opposed U.S. militarism, spoke out against capitalism, killed in 1968. JFK was also assassinated. So, and JFK was assassinated as well when he flipped the script. I don't believe in coincidences. I don't. Maybe in life, not in politics. Everything in politics is so strategic, thought out. You have a million people, trying to see what the end game is. It's like one of those books where it's like, pick this ending, pick that ending. Well, they're writing those endings. So everything happening in the United States right now feels like a massive distraction. And at the same time, we have finally just, we like to say mask off when you just expose who you are because you're so confident. Netanyahu, that little smile on your face, the little smirk every time you talk to our press, and all of your never-ending visits to the United States. I'm happy that you finally just said what you were going to end up doing anyways. So we're going to take over Gaza. They are finishing their ground expansion. They are just bombing homes. People on the ground are saying that there's just families under the rubble. Israel bombed terrorists by rigging their beepers. It's hard to believe that they could not be a little bit more organized in how they're taking out these terrorists, right? Hamas. But instead, it just seems like we're just carpet murdering people. And at this point, because the world's bully, the United States, is backing them up and denouncing everybody who has one shred of morality. It's an interesting one. It's an interesting one. So at the time that we're now fighting with each other, how much the left and the right hate each other. We have this country is now expanding into another country that they were never supposed to expand into. And a war normally means you fight, you give up land, or you kind of like come to an agreement. But no, that's okay. And now we are officially declared a genocide. We officially have a genocide declared in Gaza. And as I said earlier, the lovely Ted Cruz, who seems to now show up more to, promote, all the pro-Israel shilling that he wants to do, immediately came out to condemn the United Nations because, the United Nations doesn't know anything. They've been saying for 2 years now that Israel was not acting in good faith in this war and that they were violating Geneva Conventions. But, we don't care. We don't care because Israel can do whatever they want because World War II happened. Israel can do whatever they want. The rest of the world just gets to deal with it. That's not working. That's not working. And that doesn't look good. All right. Now, one thing that I will say, and it lightens my heart, the politicians in America cannot agree on anything. We cannot unite in this country, in our government. Democrats, Republicans hate each other. Now it's going to be worse than ever because now we're going to make the left the demon of the right. Oh, they're so bad. They're so mean. Now, the left has some crazy people, right? I call it the lunatic left. But let's be honest, on the right, we got some ugliness in our party. We want to sit here and pretend like January 6th didn't happen. All those BLM riots, I would have preferred for them to go to a government building instead of destroying people's homes, businesses. I would have preferred that. So yeah, January 6th. Okay, thank you for not destroying people's houses and businesses and the little man who can't really recover, but the government can recover because we pay them all of our money. So the lunatic left acts like a spoiled child. My kids don't act anywhere near as horribly as some people on the left do. But the right trying to be righteous is hilarious. It's hilarious. We are so ugly on every extreme in this country. And you know what's funny? The United States is like a toxic threesome. That's what it is. I've decided. It is a toxic threesome. The Democrats and the Republicans are mom and dad. You know, mom and dad, they're always fighting. They're always dragging kids into it. Meanwhile, Israel plays both sides, whispers sweet nothings to us, gives us a back rub when mom's mad, you know, goes and gardens when dad's being a jerk. And they just cash in on the chaos. Meanwhile, the losers are the kids and the pets and the dead plants in the yard. And the roof is leaking and nobody's fixing it. And there's termites destroying the foundation of the home. But they don't care. They don't care. Because the kids are going to be all right. But you know what, y'all? We will be all right. Toxic ass threesome. All right. So coming to the end of the stream, but I want to, I'm gonna see if I can actually put it up because I was like really excited about this. Let me see if I can get my little, wait, can I actually do it? Bam. I want to do every week, in the name of, is it gonna, are you gonna stay up there? No, we are not. All right, y'all, I need to actually download this. I'm going to remove this first and then, okay. So I wanted to do a segment where we kind of every single week, we just cover something. How would you describe this? Okay. So I wanted to do like its own version of like an educational segment, right? Like I'm not an expert here, but I do think in the United States, we have the habit of using words or changing definition of things. I know we make jokes about our education system, but y'all, it's really obvious that we don't prioritize a well-rounded education in America. Some of the ways that I would describe that is the term conservative. A political conservative, by definition, is not somebody who would be stomping down like civil liberties, right? A political conservative would be more on open markets and small government, but they, how do you say this? A real conservative would never ask you questions about like gay marriage. They wouldn't care. As long as somebody was consenting and following the law, they would genuinely not care that you got married to the same sex. I think even on trans rights, they wouldn't care as long as the person was of a consenting age. I imagine when it comes to like trans women and biological women sports, that would be something because it would affect the biological sex. And there's already unfair advantages to biological males against females. So that's kind of there, but I want to do like a little segment where we just talk about certain words. Now, the good thing is that we like to use the same words to insult people in the US. So I'll be able to have a couple of items before I get followers, because I would love for my followers to vote on the word of the week that we would be doing. So today's definition of the week is fascism, because we really like to call Donald Trump and the Republicans fascists, right? So I thought we could kind of go through fascism. We could go through the core characteristics, and then we could also flag how Trump is not a fascist, because he's not, guys. I know you want to hate him or you already hate him, but it's okay to just be like, I hate the dude. Like, that's fine. I mean, hate's very strong for someone you don't know, but still, you could say it. So anyways, fascism. Definition of the week. We are pushing back on Americans using dramatic words without knowing the actual definition and relevant characteristics that define it. Now, see my visual here? All right. So the definition here, and I'll read just straight off the screen. Fascism is a far-right authoritarian system of government marked by dictatorial power, forced suppression of opposition, and strong regimentation of society and economy. The core Characteristics of fascism. 1, dictatorship. Now, Trump is not canceling elections yet. Let's see. We got midterms coming up. Maybe all the liberals are like, you don't know, he's going to cancel everything. I actually think that on the liberal side, like, y'all want Trump to become an authoritarian dictator. Like, it would do something for you. Like, you'd get off on it, you know, because you haven't lived in that. Like, most Americans don't understand what these types of governments are like. I'm going to have an interview in a couple weeks with my mother, who actually left a dictatorship to come to the United States. And within 10 years of being in the United States, saw JFK, RFK, Malcolm X, and Martin Luther King Jr. get assassinated. So that's somebody whose viewpoints I'm really excited to bring on, because she can tell you the cyclical nature of American politics and American sentiment, and how one thing that Americans seem to consistently be happy to be is willfully ignorant. Okay? So Trump is not canceling elections. Now, red flags here would be this crazy level of enemy language that he uses to speak against his opposing party within the United States. And this thing where, like, everybody who works in his cabinet has to be a diehard loyalist, not competent and not qualified, a diehard loyalist. Okay. The hyper nationalism, this promoting that pride, right? Promoting just pride in your national identity. Now, Donald Trump is a nationalist. I'm a nationalist. Honestly, I've become more of a nationalist than ever before, because we're too involved in other countries and we need to become nationalists. But I would disagree. You're not a nationalist when you are allowing other countries to dictate our foreign policy. That's not nationalistic behavior. You're not nationalist when you threaten states in the in your country that you will withhold FEMA funding if they speak out against a genocidal government. That's not nationalistic. On the contrary, that's not America first at all. It's crazy. America first, unless Israel needs to be first. Come on, guys. So on that alone, not a nationalist. Now, he also claims anybody who doesn't agree with him is un-American, as if Donald Trump defines what an American is. You can't define what an American is, and it's not an insult to you, but you grew up with the golden spoon, platinum spoon in your mouth. How are you like the average American? We are scrappy. We start with nothing and we make it to the top or to middle class, and we're happy there and we are relaxed. We don't sit on gold toilets. You're not the average American. So it's crazy to me that you would even assume that you know what the voice of the average American is. Don't fool yourself in the amount of people who voted for you. We voted for you because the other side is that bad. And I didn't even vote for you in the last election. I'm sorry, bro. I can't get in line with what you say. Militarism. No foreign wars. We let Israel bomb Iran within 24 hours of a report coming out. Not even like breathing room. And then we attacked Iran because Israel told us to. Right? All right. We haven't ended the war in the Ukraine or Russia. We've gone back and forth on kind of who we're going to act more ally with, right? So interesting. We're bombing Venezuelan boats, you know, and then we're bragging about it as if Venezuela's military is any competition for the United States military. Like, you're literally stepping on ants and you're patting yourself on the back because you can't win the 2 wars that you said you were going to get ended. Anti-democracy. We still have elections and the opposition exists. I mean, the opposition is getting louder. The fact that we still continue with the rigged elections rhetoric, that is a red flag. But honestly, we're not anti-democracy at all. Racism or hierarchy is always going to be defined. It's very hard in the United States to have a racial hierarchy when you are a mixed country. You are a country of people from all over. So yeah, you could say, oh, you know, white people, but the largest poverty population in the United States are white Americans. So that narrative doesn't even fit. 66% of the United States is white. The rest of it are ethnic minorities. And the second largest group is going to be Hispanics, who are every single color. I mean, you get in a room of one person from every single Latin American country. That's 21 people. Look at how different everybody is. So it's very hard to have like a racism structure. We've had it in this country, but even during slavery, the population was pretty much majority white with about a pocket of Black Americans and maybe some other migrant workers, but it wasn't in any way, shape, or form the mosaic that it is today. We don't have a caste system. I do think that to some degree we have a class system. And I think if we continue with AI, the layoffs that are happening because of AI being implemented in companies, I think that we are looking at creating a new poverty class. I'm hoping that we can just kind of pivot, kind of like when we moved away from coal energy. It definitely took a generation, but we did recover. It's just a workforce shift, and I'm hoping. But again, we don't have that racism hierarchical structure. And yes, the red flag here would be the kind of the way that they speak of immigrants, the way that they'll speak about minorities as if we're less than. I think that more has to do with the individual and not the actual party or this current administration. Yeah, I don't think that Donald Trump inherently is racist. I think that people want to work with people who they like and who look like them, and I think we're all guilty of that. So as of right now, I don't think that we hit that criteria. Having a state economy. So we are currently very pro-market. We're not corporatist at all. However, we have a lot of meetings going on with big tech companies. They try to put a provision in the big beautiful bill allowing for 10 years of zero AI regulation, which is honestly like mind-blowing, and the level of just wow is crazy that anybody would have agreed to that. Thankfully, it got pulled out. We bought a 10% stake in Intel. It's, to me, a little bit closer to communism, but we'll see. If we don't buy stakes in other companies as a government, then this may just be a one-off to make sure that China doesn't gain the upper hand in the chip race. But I think it's concerning when we're buying stake in a company and talking about possibly buying in others. I think that's a slippery slope. The United States government is not running itself efficiently. I don't think that they should be intervening in how corporations are running. So yeah, and then there's just overall with him, it's always a lot of favoritism. Always a lot of favoritism. Now, the last characteristic here is no state control of media. We don't have a state control of media, but man, the echo chambers are out of control. The bots are out of control. Our media is more polarizing than ever. I mean, I could see us going in a direction of some form of authoritarianism because we're already set up for it. But again, he's not hitting those characteristics. So no, it sounds good to call Donald Trump a fascist. I honestly think it's more simple. I really think that you can break it down and say that the man's an egomaniac. The world revolves around him and always has in his mind. Becoming president was just one more achievement that he could put on his board. I think at the end of the day, what redeems him is the fact that he seems to want people to like him. But this term is feeling weird. It doesn't feel like his first term. He doesn't feel as lighthearted as he was. And I get that he was kind of dragged through the legal system during Biden's presidency. And the Democrats did way too much to try to make people hate him. It seemed to solidify his support more. I know it made me like him more. And I can't stand listening to him speak. I mean, you ever hear a kid talking to their dad, like when their dad like doesn't like you or like is always disapproving of you, and you develop this persona of like, love me, like just approve of me for once. And that's how he kind of feels to me. He just feels like somebody who's constantly trying to get his dad to like him or approve of him. Like, you've made it, like for Trump, it's like, you've made it. You've made it as far as you've made it. And you got reelected. You had a landslide win. You got a lot of people to buy into your agenda. And a lot of people voted for you because this is going to sound crazy. You ready? They care about the Epstein files. We want to know how disgusting our government is. We want to know why children are a free-for-all. Why we're just here for your entertainment. We actually care about that. We care about Maha. We want our kids to be healthy. You know what's amazing is going to the grocery store right now where I live and seeing a lot more bugs because they stopped putting wax on all the fruit. See, I'll take fruit that expires faster or starts rotting faster so that my kids don't get cancer at 40. These are the things that we were voting for. These are the things that we were supporting you and your cabinet on. RFK right now, honestly, keep it going, man. You are single-handedly following through on your promises. Trump, what are we doing? Our wars are going. Our trade deals are not settled. You're bragging about your money raised from tariffs. That's coming out of the American people's pockets. Our deficit is only going up. And we don't care. As a government, we don't care. We just want to keep fighting the other side and doing nothing for the kids. Nothing for the kids. Screw the kids. The kids owe us. So anyways, y'all, no, Donald Trump is not a fascist. No, individual Republicans are not fascists. They don't have any real power. They're just a regular person out there. Okay. Just another fly in the world. But we're definitely entering ugly territory. I would say in defense of Donald Trump that the Democrats taking over the media and the Democrats taking over Hollywood and the Democrats never-ending spread of their agenda has not helped the Republicans feel like they need to come back to middle ground. On the contrary, I think it radicalized them. So you bully somebody for so long and then they turn around and become the bully. I will say that yeah, it's a scary one. And it's unfortunate. But definitely not a fascist. So thank you for joining my definition of the week. All right. I want to close with this. And this is my call for unity. A little more expanded than last week. I'm a little more energetic. Not feeling as, as sad and not hopeless, but just sometimes you're just like, why? Why are we so disgusting? Why do we do the things that we do to people? So I'm going to close with this. We can grieve. We can criticize. We can call out hypocrisy. But not every single disagreement makes somebody the enemy. That kind of thinking keeps us stuck. It keeps us distracted. And it makes us easy to control. Some people are definitely too far gone. Sure. They've given up on reason. They've given into their hatred. And they've made it their personality. But they always burn out. Or society does what it's always done, the law of nature. When you do not adapt to the majority population, you are ostracized, and slowly but surely you are phased out, whether that's genetically, whatever it may be. We do not need to destroy them. The truth will do that on its own. Time will do that on its own. What we need are more people willing to talk, willing to disagree without calling for punishments, willing to debate without turning every sentence into a crime against humanity. Because, y'all, the enemy has never been left or right. The enemy has always been good versus evil. And right now, they think that they're winning. Thank you, everybody, for joining today. Thank you, everybody, for watching this later. Thank you for your patience while I deal with technical difficulties and as a geriatric millennial figure out how to work this streaming software. This is really fun for me. And yeah, I'm happy to wake up on a Saturday morning and chat with YouTube as I get followers. So even though I only have 57 followers, I just wanted to start a channel where I could talk to people. And I just wanted to start a channel to discuss politics, discuss, when things get a little more fun, discuss, current cultural movements or celebrity, hilarity moments, whatever it may be. I want to talk about Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively. So yeah, I only have 57 subscribers, but I'm just excited. I'm excited to be uncomfortable. I'm excited. Again, I'm a mom of 4 and I'm not a mommy journalist. I'm a Monday through Friday career woman. But I love politics and I love having conversation that makes me uncomfortable and teaches me something. So if anybody sees this and wants to jump on a live stream with me and we can interview back and forth, we can talk about our life story, whatever it may be. I want to have conversations with the average everyday person. I don't care about these big name celebrities. Let's have a conversation. Me and you, one ant in the pile, talking together. Have an amazing day, everybody. And remember, no matter how you feel, we're all American.